What's the dumbest way you've gotten a scar? Don't touch the iron, it's hot. Can't be that hot. Narrator, it was. You should have checked your tag to see at what setting to set the iron for human skin. Oh, so that's what skin tags are for. I was 7. Mum said don't use that knife to cut that orange. I used that knife to cut that orange. Things I learned. Orange juice in a wound stings, but not as much as the knowledge you can't go crying to your mum. Yeah, can't go to your mom. You don't want to look like an OJ. Wimp son. Orange, you happy you made that pun? Boys from my class were throwing CDs like you throw frisbee. One of those hit me right between the eyes. Still got a small scar there. You should be thankful they didn't decapitate you. I'll make sure to send them basket of fruits or something. I used a pressure washer on my foot. Jeez. I pressure washed my entire roof barefoot and hit my feet a few times. I wouldn't think it could scar. I don't have any decent scars, despite being the kind of guy that pressure washes his roof barefoot. There is a huge difference between the strongest and weakest pressure washers you can buy, as well as tips. You could dig a hole in concrete with a 2700C pressure washer and a narrow angle tip. I have one on the back of my hand from rubbing the skin off with a pencil eraser longer than the other kid did when I was 13, just to prove I was tough. Jesus Christ, I have a scar on the back of my right hand for doing the exact same thing probably at about the same age. The school called it the rubber challenge. We called it rubbing one out. My brother, sister and I all have the same kind of scar in our left eyebrow and got them at the same age. My brother opened an empty dresser drawer and smacked himself in the face. My sister ran into a brick wall and I fell off the couch onto a coffee table. I'm picturing this all happening in the same 5 minutes and your parents come home to everybody bleeding out. Blood everywhere. Kids quietly playing video games in the living room, bleeding profusely from their heads. I was trying to squeeze between two cars. One of the cars must have had a jagged bumper because it sliced a 2-inch gash in my leg. At first I was thinking you were driving a car yourself and wondering how the frick you scarred yourself while inside a car. He was the car. For my 8th birthday, a classmate got me something like a grow your own stalagmite kit you could buy at educational stores. Apparently, the purpose was to add water to some powder material and use a funnel in the kit to drip it down to make your own cave features. Exciting, I know. Anyway, I kept it and the other birthday presents I got in a cardboard box in my room. Evidently, at some point, moisture got into the box and the plastic the powder was in, and it began expanding. Having nowhere else to go, the stalagmite material oozed its way out through the narrow slits in its box and hardened into razor sharp edges. I found this out quite bloodily when I put my hand into my birthday box to grab another toy and pulled it out with permanently altered fingerprints on my thumb, index, and middle fingers. Ouches. I got cut by a vacuum. A freaking vacuum. Elaborate, my friend. Spider on my arm. Violently jerked on as an attempt to get the spider off. Vacuum was there. Scar. I was in middle school and we were going to see Coach Carter in theaters with the boys b-ball team. Middle school me was pumped. While in the shower I thought Coach Carter, I bet they do push-ups in that movie. I do push-ups right now. Tried to do a wall push-up. Slipped, smacked my face on the edge of the tub, and split my upper lip open from mouth to nose. Needless to say, did not make it to the movie. My younger brother at a very young age, maybe 5 or 6, saw some older kids playing baseball, maybe 12 or so, and for some reason thought it was his team. He was not even on a baseball team. He was on a junior t-ball team. Anyway, he was wearing his sandals on the wrong feet because he insisted on putting them on himself. When he tried to run towards his team, he tripped and hit his head in the car door. He got staples and now he has a scar on his head, which is hilarious to me because he's a soldier and has to keep really short hair. Another funny story about him being an idiot kid. One time we were riding our bikes. He was probably around 13. And he kept trying to do BMX tricks despite having no idea how it resulted, as you probably can guess, in him smashing his face into the concrete. No serious injuries, but he had short-term memory. The ride home he kept asking the same question, "Are we almost home?" Which was annoying, but he's annoying. So I didn't question it and just got mad, he asked, while on our street, and I was like, dude, we are on our street, shoot up. And we start fighting. He's yelling at me for a minimum and then instantly stops to calmly ask once again, are we almost home? The change in mood was so off-putting and I realized something was wrong. So we took him to the hospital. He's okay now, but he has a scar on his lip that now looks like a reverse Hitler mustache when he grows his facial hair. And he didn't knock any front teeth doing either of these things. Lol. And they gave this man gun. I got hit on the bridge of my nose by a ceramic toilet seat when I was learning to pee like a big boy. Now I think about it, that's probably the best outcome there. Why was your nose close enough to get hit? I was just learning to wee in the grown-up toilet and I thought I was clever. Went to my grandparents' old clanker of a toilet without a step or anything. Tippy toes to get any sort of bead on the target. The lid was one of those that you think is going to stay up but actually needs holding or it falls down. I didn't know this, it fell down. I was headbanging my hair dry in the bathroom. I hit the counter. I was 8. I legit laughed alone in my empty office when I read this. A calamity, indeed. Miss Jane. Thanks for the Monday morning smiles. When I deliberately cut myself. Not seriously, I just wanted the word ninja on my hand. Don't ask me why. Wow, you carved ninja on your hand? Can you share a pic? I'm very curious. It was a long time ago. You can't see much anymore. Just one line of the first N. Sorry. So I broke my right arm when I was a kid, then decided to put a cast on me. My skin under my cast is so itchy. It's like my skin is alive. When 2 months have passed, I decided to scratch my skin under the cast using a pen, since my fingers couldn't reach further areas. While doing so, I accidentally put the pen further away inside, that I can't remove it under my cast. Since I can't reach it, then I just ignored it after that, thinking that it will be just fine. And I didn't tell that to my parents, since they would be mad. After 2 months, they decided to remove my cast, since it's already due. But the night before removing my cast, my mom noticed that my arm smells rotten. So fast forward, they removed the cast in my arm in the hospital. Then they noticed that the pen was penetrating my skin for months and the hole is about the size of a penny full of pus. I didn't even feel a thing. After that, the hole eventually became a penny-sized scar in my skin. A similar thing once happened to me. I always have an earring in, but since they're small I never take them out or even touch them. A few years ago, I wore it a little too tight, and when I tried removing it, I realized I couldn't. So I asked my mom to help, and she said my skin started growing over my earring. It didn't leave a scar, but I've kept my earring loose ever since. This happened to me too. I was around 8 years old and my gym teacher noticed that my lobes were scabbed over. She sent me to the nurse, who then called my dad. We went home where he sat me at the kitchen table and attempted to remove the earrings. It was a screaming match of me telling him it hurt and him telling me to stop wiggling. It took about an hour to sort out both ears. Neither scarred, but we did have to let them heal closed, and I waited about a year before getting them pierced again. Playing manhunt. Some idiot made the campfire area base. I was running for my life to get there, jumped this huge pile of firewood, tripped over something, and rolled right into the fire. It could been so much worse, but I only burned my elbow and some of my hair. It's been probably 15 years and the scar is only about 3 inches long and 1 wide. Truly the most dangerous game. Yup. I was running full out, forgot to duck under the clothesline and I clotheslined myself. Rope burned from my clavicle to right under my chin and ear to ear. I have 2 from when I was a kid. Running around in the dark on a school roof, tripped over and ripped my hand to shreds. Jumping and sliding on a door that had been kicked in, jumped straight onto a nail that went in my knee. I was a stupid kid. What do you mean by ripped my hand to shreds? Multiple deep cuts. Lazy me liked to iron clothes while wearing them when I was 20 years old. My left arm can testify. So you are the reason for that ridiculous warning label. Lol. I want Dantana to iron his clothes while wearing them. When I was 5, I was spinning around in the living room and then fell face first into the coffee table. I have a scar on my forehead from that mayo. I tried to tightrope a scarf from the couch to coffee table point, knocked out my 2 front teeth. My mother and brother were arguing about ice cream cone sizes, so my brother stormed off. I followed him back to a villa thing we were staying at. He didn't have a key and we didn't want to wait, so I just punched through the glass in the sliding door to make an entrance. There were probably 1,000 other safer ways to do it, but it just seemed the quickest. Ice cream cone sizes, man. I don't know if I've ever been so mad that I'd punch a glass door just to get inside. You just have been livid about those ice cream cones. Oddly enough, I was the most level-headed of the 3 of us, beginning to end. The only time I even spoke was to tell them both to shut up before I was straight up ignored. Okay C's, whatever you do, don't put your finger in the boiling sugar because it's real damn hot and it sticks to you. Puts finger in boiling sugar. I'm one of 6 siblings and my mom made us oatmeal for breakfast pretty often. When my youngest brother was maybe 1, he managed to stick his entire fist in a steaming hot bowl of oatmeal. It stuck to his skin and the burn was so bad it blistered almost instantly. One emergency room visit later, his hand looked like a little club from all the bandages wrapped around it. Before that burn healed, less than 2 weeks, probably. IDK, this was like 18 years ago. My mom fixed us cocoa eats for breakfast, and he shoved his other fist in it. He had 2 little white club hands for weeks while the burns healed. Miraculously, he does not have a scar from either incident. Experiments require sacrifice. My cat decided one day that feeding him was not enough and full on grappled onto my arm, digging in deep. Got a pretty nasty infection from that, and now I've got 2 nasty scars next to my wrist. My sister's cat uses her hot tub as a platform to get on and off the conservatory roof. It decided to jump off the roof while we were in the hot tub one night and jumped into the water. My daughter now has a set of scars where the cat climbed her like a ladder to get out of the hot tub. If your daughter hadn't gotten injured, that would have been absolutely hilarious to watch. I was heating up oil in the pan for the chicken. A chicken fillet slipped out of my hand and onto the handle of the pan. The pan flipped and launched the boiling hot oil all over my hand. It hurt a lot. Rube Goldberg machine. It's finally my time to shine. It was Christmas Day, 2010. I was 10. My brother was 12. I was in that stage of my life where I greatly admired my brother and basically followed him around and did what he ordered me to do. At this given moment, my nan and her boyfriend were at the table sitting outside enjoying the sunshine and listening to Mariah Carey. My mum, preparing the Christmas feast of ham and roast veg. My dad, probably trying to figure out how to make ice with the new ice machine and cursing his existence. Now for a little more context, I've grown up in the Australian suburbs. This is important to reference, as it explains why my brother and I were trying to peep over the fence to see what our loud neighbors were doing. You're probably confused, I'll explain. In Australia, it's common culture to extend to your neighbors, or the entire street, an invitation into the family. This includes inviting them over to celebrate birthdays, having afternoon siestas on the front lawn, joint Australia Day BBQs, that kind of thing. However, my family was never really close to the neighbors behind us. I personally feel like this is because they never cut their bloody tree that's palms dipped into our yard. Anyway, on this particular Christmas, those neighbors were being louder than usual. My brother, being the nosy bastard he is, decided he wanted to see what the commotion was all about. So he decided he had a plan. Get a chair, put it against the fence and look over. But alas, this plan would not work, as the way the chair was positioned, my brother would surely topple over. Cue my involvement. I sat down in that chair, as if my life depended on it. My brother needed my help, so I'd be sure to give it. I watched as my brother climbed the chair, using the headrest as a step. He peered over. I caught my breath. It felt like eternity before my brother started to jitter and panic. What are you doing up there? Holy turtle doves, I thought, as my brother clambered down the fence. The bloody neighbors had seen his booth of a head peering into their yard. Now panicking as well, I yelled at my brother to hurry down so I could run away myself, but that wasn't before the incident occurred. The life-changing moment that gave me my scar. I bet you're wondering how it happened. Did my brother somehow topple the chair over and make me fall, cutting my hand on the pot plant below? No. Or did the neighbor throw over a cricket ball in anger, it landing on my head and causing me to bleed and have a little Harry Potter scar? Not even close. As my brother rushed down from the fence, his feet came too close to my face. His big toe specifically, and in a moment you could say, was set on 0.75 speed. His toenail collided with my cheek, cutting my face. He landed safely on the floor and ran to the outdoor table, including himself in my nan and her partner's conversation as if nothing happened. But I knew something was wrong. My bloody face was burning. I abandoned the chair and the yells of fury behind me and darted for the bathroom. I looked in horror at my new battle wound. My god, I looked like a prisoner you wouldn't want to freak with. The cut resembled La Teardrop. Almost exactly so. It was rather fascinating in a way. But the stinging overcame the wonderment. I cleaned the wound as best as I could, being 10 years old and not very bright, and stuck a band-aid on it. I know. I walked out and copied my brother, sitting at the table and acting like nothing happened. Of course everyone picked up on the band-aid, but I simply said I wanted to be a Christmas pirate. Doesn't make any sense. I know. And they moved on. To this day, I have that scar. Yes, it still resembles a teardrop. I'm very sorry for your toenail scar, but you're a really funny storyteller. This gave me a good laugh. Teacher, go to lunch, but do not run. I'll be watching you all. 8-year-old me proceeds to walk to lunch facing backwards, checking to see if the teacher is still watching. She is. Eventually I accept defeat, turn to walk forwards, and collide headfirst with a piano. Best thing I ever walked into was in 4th grade. I was going back to class. After I was done in the washroom, I'd usually hug the wall cause I was an anxious kid. I didn't wanna look at anyone. Anyway, I guess my teacher was doing the same thing, hugging the wall, but going the opposite, so my way, because when I rounded the corner I literally turned into a face full of titties. I'm dead serious, I unintentionally motorboated my hot ass teacher. She didn't get mad, just kinda went, you should be more careful, then strutted away. I might also mention this was a Christian school. One of my happier memories from school. Tripped over a bloody football and destroyed my nose and forehead. It didn't leave a scar, but I think it has something to do with the fact that I basically can't smell anything. This happened when I was 6. Yeah, well, you got yourself some brain damage. Technically, that's a scar as well. I know someone who rides straight into a street lantern with his bicycle, and he has the same problem, along with a titanium plate in his skull. There's this one game that usually held at weddings, a handmade tree built from bamboo woods. On its branches, a lot of candies and money bills hanging on there, so we, as kids or young teens, were told to get as much as the candies and bills on account of tree. It was raining. The floor was wet from the mud. We rushed for the tree, grab as much candies as possible, then we slipped and we fell, crashing the tree. I think I pressed some of the branches, mind you, they made from bamboo wood, and I just grabbed the candy and went back to my seat. Then one of the women screamed and told me my entire arm was covered in blood. I didn't notice until they told, so I was shocked. 2 cut wounds. Since then I never play that game again. The scars stayed,